Setting yearly goals is great, but how many New Year's resolutions have you followed through with? Research indicates that a mere 20% of individuals manage to actually stick to them. Welcome to Dollars and Dreams, the podcast designed to empower you to take control of your personal and business finance. You know, the very thought of money and finance can often send chills down your spine and stir up fear of the unknown. But let's change that narrative together. Through this podcast, my goal is to not only to provide you with useful information, but also to inspire and motivate you to take action towards your own financial goals. Let's rewrite your money story together. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Dollars and Dreams. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about something that is very dear to my heart and something that I put in place all the time in my everyday life as well as my business life, and that is goal setting. And as an accountant, it's every time we sit with one of our clients, we're always saying to them, set where you want to be. You know, where do you want to be with your business and work backwards from there? And that's about goal setting. So we will say to somebody, we're going to create a business plan. Where do you see your business in the next 10 years, 5 years, 1 year? And then we need to work backwards to find out what we've got to do. And that's really important in our business world, but it's also equally as important in our own personal life. The reason that it's important is it's like a GPS. So, you want to take your business or your own life to a certain point. You've got to have a strategy or a plan to get there. Otherwise, you just amble along. So if you were driving somewhere on holidays, you would put where you want to end up when you drive into Google Maps, and it will give you the steps that you need to take. So where you've got to turn, where you've got to go through the roundabouts, what challenges you might have. And that is the same in our business life and our personal life. One of the things that we see quite often with everybody with their goal setting is that they think it's a set and forget, and it's certainly not, because if you decide that you want to be somewhere in your life, how much you want to save, if you want to go on an overseas holiday at a certain date, you can map out how much you need to save or what steps you need to do to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life. But unfortunately, sometimes life gets in the way. So, for example, if you were trying to save for an overseas holiday and you say, right, well, I want to go to Japan to ski next February, you might work out how much that is going to cost you. You know, you've got airfares, you've got accommodation, you've got ski tickets, you've got ski hire, whatever it might be, and spending money. So you can then work backwards from that and say, well, I've got 12 months to save for that holiday that I want to take. And you can work back to how many pays you've got to work out how much you need to put aside. That is goal setting. People quite often don't even think of that as goal setting, but it is. You've set a goal that you want to get the money to go skiing in Japan next February, and you've worked out the steps that you need to take to achieve that goal. But what happens if you've worked out that you need, X amount of dollars every pay to put away, and then something happens in your life and you need to use some of that money, or you haven't got enough sick leave and you're unwell and you take time off work so you're unpaid? What you've got to then do is adjust your budget or adjust your steps that you need to do to achieve your goals. And that's why you can't have anything as a set and forget. Now, most people, if I sat with them and I said to them, what happens if you've got this Japan holiday organised and you've worked out you've got 26 pays to get you there, you need to work out X amount of dollars that you need to put away. Now, if I said to them, what happens if you do have to take 3 weeks of unpaid work because you don't have enough sick leave and you needed an operation or whatever it is, most people would quite easily say to me, I just need to then readjust what I'm putting away for the next 20 weeks or whatever you've got left you need to achieve that budget. So when it comes to those things, I find people are quite easily adaptable and understand that they need to rejig their budget. But when we talk other goal setting that's not associated with money, people do struggle a little bit more. We might talk about that we want to get fit. And this is one of the things that I'm on at the moment. You know, I said in a podcast a couple of weeks ago that I've joined a gym because my goal this year was to get myself a little bit healthier, lose some weight, and get a little bit fitter because I have a sedentary job. I sit on my butt all day. So, you know, walking the dogs of a night I didn't feel was doing enough, and there was some health issues that were coming from that. Now, I set the goal that I wanted to go to the gym at least 4 days a week. So before work, because I wanted to make sure that work didn't get in the way. You know, I got out of bed, just went to the gym. Unfortunately, some days that doesn't work. And by the end of the week, you know, I'm tired. So Fridays, I just went, I'm not even going to aim for Friday mornings because by the time I get to Friday mornings, it is quite difficult for me to get out of bed. So I recognized my limitation there. And that is a key factor that you need to do, because if you don't recognize any limitations to achieving your goals, you set yourself up for failure. So I left Friday mornings out and I said I want to try and get there Monday to Thursday. Now, one of my sons he gets up at 4:30 to go to the gym before his work. He goes 5 mornings a week, quite often goes Saturday, Sunday, but he's, you know, in his early 20s, he plays football. He needs to be really fit so he doesn't get injured. But he made a comment when I said that to him, I want to try to make it 4 days a week. And his comment to me was, are you going to do it or are you going to try to do it? Now, that was the language that I used, is I'm going to try to do it. That set me up for the fact that I'm okay if I don't do it. Some days I will, some weeks I won't. But that language that he threw back at me was, are you going to do it or are you going to try and do it? Just puts you in a completely different mindset when it comes to your goals. And since he said that to me, I've been much more vigilant at getting there the 4 mornings a week, because I hear those words, are you going to do it or are you going to try and do it? So getting your language around your goals and committing to those goals is a really, really important step. You know, I'm a believer that we write things down. You know, every Sunday night I tend to just spend half an hour planning out my week, what nights we're all home for dinner at the right time, what nights, you know, we've got to get dinner late, what nights I get home from work late. So I need to have a meal prep that is a quick meal. Otherwise we're eating at, 9 and 10 o'clock at night. And so I sit down and I write my weekly goals that I need to get done. And that can be just some little simple things, like remembering to ring the vet that I had to do this week to book one of my dogs in. Now, people don't think of that as a goal, but for me, that was a huge goal because it's something that I needed to do, and it was something that made everything work seamlessly in my life. Now, there's been a Harvard business study of graduates. Now, 83% of those graduates said that they had no goals. 14% said they had goals in their head. Only 3% of those graduates wrote down their goals. And you can guess who actually achieved their goals and who didn't. And the Harvard study showed that anybody who wrote down their goals were 30 times more likely to be successful. Now, if you could do anything in your life that made you 30 times more successful, wouldn't you do it? And so with your goals, what you need to do is actually write them down. Now, as I said at the very beginning of this podcast, when we're working with business owners, we always ask them, what's their 10-year or their 5-year goal? Because you want to make sure that you're always working on achieving your big picture goals. And I always call those my big picture goals. Where do I want my business in 5 years' time? Where do I want my personal life to be? Where do I want my debt strategy to be? So if you're looking to buy a home, you might say in 5 years' time, I want to have ownership. Or you could be the other way around and you've already got a home and you say to yourself, in 5 years' time, I want to have that debt down to whatever level is, or it might be to pay it off. It might be that you want to get in 100,000 into your super. It could be anything. But knowing that big picture goal is what will continually drive you. But of course, if we looked at our goals that are 5 and 10 years away, they're too far away for our own brains to comprehend it. because our brains don't look at long-term picture as such. They look at all the short little things that we like to do. And even a 1-year goal is too long a time frame for your mind to focus what needs to be done, because in the way that your brain processes that 1-year goal, it's a long way away, so you've got plenty of time to do it. What we always say to everybody in business or in personal budgeting and things that we do with them, and goal setting and money mindset and all those things that we work with here at jenrichardson.co, is we will say, come up with your 5-year plan. Then just come back to a year. You don't need to worry about the 4 years, 3 years. It doesn't matter. But you've got to make sure that that 1-year goal is working towards that 5-year goal. And technically, because we've got maths brains here, I would say be 20% of the way through. Now, once you get to that 1-year goal, we then break it down to 6 monthly, then we'll break it down to 3 monthly, and then weekly. The reason that we do that is when you set those little weekly tasks that are all working towards that big picture that we need to get, but also working towards that 1-year goal, the 6-year goal, the 3-year goal, and your monthly goal, you will actually achieve them, because they're small little steps that you need to take to get you closer to achieving your goal. So, for example, what I do on a Sunday night when I sit down, I know what I've got to get done for the month. That's all I'm working on. I've done my 12-month plan, I've done my 6-month plan and my 90-day plan or 3-month plan. But then I come back to my monthly. So I will sit and go, right, by the end of March or the end of April or the end of May or whatever month it is, this is the work that I need to have done, and this is what I need to have achieved. Then on a Sunday night, what I do is I sit down and I give myself 3 tasks that I need to complete that week. Now, if you're doing more than 3 tasks a week, you probably won't get to achieving your goals. Now, I said that one of my tasks this week was to ring my vet and book my dog in for her yearly vaccinations. I actually didn't class that as one of my tasks. That was just I need to do it. But my 3 tasks this week was to do my scheduling for my podcast and my courses. So that was so I could work out what I needed to prep for. So we're in the moment, the first week in March. So I've done all our social media, our podcasting, and our course material that I need to get done in March. So I've done that prep. My second one then was to break down the tasks that I need to do each of those months and schedule them into my calendar. And the third one was just to follow up some business key statistics that I needed to do. Now, scheduling a whole month worth of and setting targets for the whole month of my social media, my course material, my podcast is actually quite demanding. There's a lot of stuff to be done there, a lot of prep, a lot of research, a lot of everything. But if I don't get that done in the first month, I can't then start creating the content next month so that we can schedule it. So we try to work a month ahead here. I'm trying to get me to 2 months ahead with all this content so that we're not doing it. So at the moment, we're scheduling March and April. So I have got a huge list of stuff that needs to be done. But because they're my 3 tasks for this week that I need to get done, because I need to get March done so that I can, in a fortnight's time, start working on my April content and April podcasting and things like that. They're huge days. But I've made sure that to be able to do that, I've then built that into my calendar. So today, for example, I've gone through and I've done some of the social media stories that I want to cover. I've done my research. I'm recording podcasts. And then this afternoon, I've set aside that I can record material for inside my courses. So I have given myself a big list of things to do, but I've also then created the space to do that. And that's really important when you're setting your goals, that you don't just set them, but then not make space to achieve them. So for example, my joining the gym and getting there 4 mornings a week, I found the space. My alarm goes off at 6 o'clock. I'm in the car at 6:15 and I'm standing there warming up in the gym at 6:30. If I didn't make space to do that and I just said to myself, I will get to the gym at some time today, life gets in the way and I wouldn't get there. So part of goal setting is to actually build that in there. You've got to remember when you do your goal setting, though, that it's not a laundry list of to-do. As I said, you come up with your big picture, break it down so that you can achieve those and come up with the small steps that you need to take. The other thing that I find people do when they're doing goal setting is they do come up with that laundry list. And, of course, straight away your brain tells you that you can't possibly do all of these things. So there's a study, and I can't remember who did it now, but the crux of this study is it was a real estate agency that did it. And they came up with, they got different sample groups. And so some of those groups would have this huge list. Other people had only a couple of things to do. The ones with the huge laundry list actually didn't achieve anything because it was so overwhelming that they found it difficult, whereas the people that had only a couple of tasks to do actually achieved them because they could see that it was able to be done because there was just a couple of things to do. So that's important that, you do spend that time and sit there and work out what might be your laundry list, but then only come up and grab one or two or three of those things, no more than three. Depending on the list of it and how much else you've got going on in your life, it might just be one step each week. And it doesn't really matter what someone else is doing. I said I always set myself 3 tasks to do. I do normally have to do a bit of a shuffle to find one big one, 2 small ones. But because I've got a lot on at the moment, I've got 3 quite big ones for the next couple of weeks. But I'm focusing on one thing at a time. So I don't get into work and just say to myself, I'm going to do bits and pieces on each of those. I'm finding one goal. I'm working my way through that one, ticking that one off, moving to the next goal. So that is really, really important that you don't keep picking up and putting down your goals unless it's something that, you can do that with. So, for example, my gym, that is a pick up, put down because it's done. So that is done, moved off. My meal prep and stuff like that, I'm doing each day so that when I get home from work, it's just a matter of cooking up whatever I've got ready because my time is limited at the moment. So of a morning while I'm drinking my coffee before I come to work, I'm doing my meal prep so that when I get home, it's just quickly throw it on the barbecue or in the oven. And, I try to find, depending on how much time I've got, I'll try to find meal prepping that lets me put something in the oven and then take the dogs for a walk. So you've got to fit your things in around your daily activities, but it's really important that you carve out time to achieving your goals. Otherwise, you come back to, what my son said, are you going to try or are you going to achieve? 2 different mindsets. And anybody who's listened to me or looked at any of the stuff that I do, I am such a mindset person. So it is changing that approach that you have to, are you going to achieve what you want to achieve or are you going to try to achieve? Try is giving you an opt-out. So make sure you come in with the right mindset. Now, I say that I set my goals on a Sunday night. That's okay for me because Sunday nights is my downtime. I sit on the lounge. I'm not a huge person to watch television. I'll have the television on, but I'll be doing stuff. I can't just sit and watch television. It's just not me. So while I'm sitting with my family, television's on, I will just sit there and map out what my week looks like. That's for me a time that I can do it. It may not be your time. Sunday night might be your time to just sit and chill. You don't want to pick up a diary. You don't want to do anything. And that's fine. Make it your Monday morning task or make it your last thing on a Friday before you leave work. You map out your next week. But be committed to that process because the commitment to actually doing that sets you up for achieving. The other thing that we find with a lot of people is that they don't look at the big picture. And as I said, that's that 12-month goal. don't just pick goals that feel like you're doing something just for the sake of doing something and it's not working towards your bigger goal. And it's really important that when you create your goal setting, that you do look at that bigger picture. And we've got this mindset card that we use quite often with clients that we work with. And if you can think of a vessel, a vase or something, and if you fill a vase with water, then you put sand in it, then you put your pebbles in, and then you want to put your rocks in, you'd find that it doesn't all fit. So your water is your daily tasks, your sand is your weekly tasks, your pebbles are your 90-day tasks, and your rocks are your 1-year goals. And the reason that we would do that, I mean, you know that when you've got the water and the sand, it packs the bottom of the vase up. Then you put all your pebbles in and the rocks sit on top of your pebbles. So it doesn't all fit in the vase. But when we do it the other way, which is how we tell our business clients to do it. So you start with your yearly goals, which are our rocks. So we put our rocks into the vase and then we go back to our 90-day goals, which is our achieving. So we put the pebbles in. And of course, the pebbles, when they go in amongst the rocks, fill all the little gaps up. So that's why you can fit more in. Then we have our sand, which is our weekly goals. And of course, we put the sand into the vase and it fills in all the other gaps. And then we put the water in and it fills the gaps again. So that shows you that you can fit it all in. And it's just a visual task to remind yourself that you need to come up with the big picture and then come down to your daily ones. That is one of the things that we say with everybody. If you do that, you'll be on focused, you'll be working towards your big picture goals. If you work the other way, quite often you'll find yourself straying off the path and going down a different path, which won't get you to where you want to end. The other thing that we always say is you should be reassessing your goals every 90 days. We pick 90 days or 12 weeks, whichever way you want to look at it, because 12 weeks is enough time for you to see some effective results from what you're trying to do, but also a short enough time frame for your mind to know that it's still working towards it. So we'll go back to the Japan holiday again. And if you're planning on that Japanese holiday, you might need to know that you're a quarter of the way through getting the money for Japan. Or maybe you need to be a little bit further away into the budgeting because you've got some expenses coming up with Christmas. So you want to, make sure you're a little bit ahead. But that 90-day goal, you will say, I want X amount of dollars in my savings account for Japan. Then when you get to the 90 days, you should be reassessing to make sure that that is still possible and that you have achieved it. So that 90 days keeps you on track. And just going back to the gym that I've joined, they actually have a 12-week program. So when I started, they are straight into the 12 weeks. So they did some measurements, they did some weighing, they did the body scanning, and they set our program. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, you've got to go and do the body scanning and all of that again so that they can see what you've improved. The 90 days is enough, or the 12 weeks in the case of the gym, is enough that you'll be able to, or should be able to see some progress on your body scan results, that your fat content's gone down, your muscle content's gone up, and all the other things that they map. Now, if they said we're going to look at you in 12 months' time and see if you've made any improvements on your body scan, most of us, not all of us, but most of us would go, that's okay. It's rainy. I don't want to go to the gym, or it's cold, or it's too hot. I've got plenty of time. If I miss a week or miss 2 weeks, it doesn't matter because I've got another 48 to go. Whereas because I'm working now with that gym on a 12-week program, I can't miss a week because that is a significant part of the whole plan. And I know that I'm not going to get the results when I do that body scan at the end of the 12 weeks. So for me, that's, I keep looking at that every week. This is what I've got to do. The program that they do is every 3 weeks they change. So we've just changed this week. So The last 3 weeks, I set myself some goals, because I'm new to the gym and I joined only 3 weeks ago. I just set some goals that whatever weights I could lift in that first week, I needed to be able to add something else to it by the end of the 3 weeks. So that gave me some little short goal setting key metrics that I could track myself. And it's interesting because the guy that was doing the class the first week when I was doing my sit-ups, I could not even have a weight on my stomach to do it. By the time I got to the third week, I had a 5 kilo weight sitting on my stomach and doing the sit-ups. And it was actually the trainer that came over to me when I was doing them and said, "Hey, Jen, can you remember the first week you couldn't even do a sit-up, let alone with a weight? That's what 3 weeks has done to you." So that was the key metric that I was trying to do, was to be a bit stronger within that 3 weeks, to lift more than I could when I first started. So I met my key metric. And then that keeps me going because I knew I only had 3 weeks and then that exercise would change. So I'd have to start again. So we went to a new program this week and I've set my metrics that on a couple of the exercises that I want to be able to do something else. So I know that by doing those 3-week blocks that if I get stronger in each of those 3-week blocks, that by the time I get to the 12 weeks, I definitely will have a better muscle mass, and probably if I stick to my diet, which I am, I'll have a lesser fat content. The other key metric that I'm doing, which isn't connected to the gym, is I'm working to try and make sure I can get my blood pressure down. It's not high, but it's getting up into the higher normal. And so my key metric there with my GP is that my blood pressure has to come down to the lower end of normal. So there's some key metrics I'm working on with my gym program. My content here at work, I have other key metrics that I work on. So it is really important, and that's the goal setting. And of course, when we do any goal setting, we always talk about SMART goals, which is specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, doesn't matter which one, relevant and time-bound. So if we go back to my gym thing, my specific is I need to get my muscle content up, my fat content down. That's a measurable thing because, we jump on the body scanner after 12 weeks and that will all be registered. Is it achievable? Absolutely. So I've got some percentages that I need to get to. So I've set some realistic ones. It would be lovely if I could lose the weight to get me down into a healthy BMI in the 12 weeks, but I know that's not possible. So I have set my measurable tasks at a set number of kilos that I want to lose, and it is achievable. Is it relevant? Yes, it is, because that will actually get me into a healthier body. And of course, as we get older, we need to be really careful of keeping much healthier than we probably needed to when we were younger, because those health issues do come in as we get older. And is it time-bound? Yes, I've given myself the 12 weeks, which is where I have to jump onto the body scanner. So everything that you do is about a SMART goal. So make sure when you set your goals that you go through and check that it is specific. So you don't want to just say, I just want to get rid of some debt, because that doesn't give you anything to benchmark against or anything to track. So make sure you are specific. And the more specific you are, the better off your chances are of achieving that goal. You need to make sure it's measurable. And that is around setting it specific, because then you can track how you're going. You need to make sure it's achievable or attainable, and that, you don't want to do the thing that makes you set yourself up for failure. Goal setting is about achieving, not setting yourself up for a failure. Relevant to your big picture goal, and that's remember the stepping stones that we have to go through to achieve our big picture, and time bound, and that's around setting benchmarks so that you can check if you're on track. Keep in mind what I said at the start is a goal setting is not a set and forget. So if you're not achieving in the time period that you want, you need to look at whether you have set realistic goals or what got in the way that made it not possible for you to achieve those tasks that you need to do. So constantly reevaluating your goals is really important. One, because it keeps you motivated, but two, it keeps you accountable to them. So when you're doing your goal setting, set your goals, but then make sure they're smart, and then constantly reassess and rejudge that you're on track. If you need any help with your goal setting, if you jump over to our website, jenrichardson.co, we have tools and templates there on how to set goals. We've got worksheets that you can fill in, and we actually even have a challenge in there that you can set up and join in on, and it will give you prompts to make sure that you're doing it. And of course, if you want to work with me on your goal setting, reach out to me at jenrichardson.co or at support@jenrichardson.co, and we can work on achieving those goals. Remember, all your success in life is set to how you set your goals and how you ensure that you achieve them. And as I said, goal setting is my passion, and it is everything that makes me achieve what I want to achieve, and it makes me accountable to my own hopes and goals and wishes. So that's it for me for today. I'd love to hear how you set your goals and what goals you're setting for yourself. So reach out to me. You can join us here at jenrichardson.co, or of course, if you want to join up for any of our challenges, you'll find them on our website. So thanks for listening for today. If we're not friends on socials yet, come join us over on Instagram or Facebook under jenrichardson.co. Or of course, if you subscribe where you're watching this podcast or listening to it, so that you get all of our new ones when they land. So have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Remember, the advice shared in Dollars and Dreams is general in nature, and it does not consider your own personal circumstances. Dollars and Dreams is for educational purposes only and should not be relied upon to make investment or financial decisions. If you need more help, please reach out to a financial advisor for tailored personal advice. Don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. And please leave me a review. Your feedback really helps me to reach other people chasing their money dreams. You can find me over on Facebook and Instagram to connect with me. You will find the link in the bio, or head over to my website at jenrichardson.co, where you will find free content and learning tools.